Maybe.
Yep, ready to go.
Ready? All right. At this time, I'll call to order the regularly scheduled committee meeting for the Village of Midlothian, Wednesday, August 17th at 2022 at 7 p.m. Roll call, please, Clerk Moscow.
Trustee Burbett.
Here.
Trustee Caveney.
Here.
Trustee Crawley.
Here.
Trustee Hilly.
Here.
Trustee Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Killily.
Here.
Mayor LaRue.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll open the floor to public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? Sorry you're too late, Sandy. Anyone? Rich? Julie?
I have two grant questions.
Yes.
On tonight's agenda, I think you guys are going to discuss fire hydrants. Do we have any money left over from, I think it was Mayor Ryback, who secured some grant funding for fire hydrants?
It was in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, there is money left. Total for the hydrants and accessories was $21,800. We received a DECO grant in the amount of $60,000.
Okay.
Which leaves about $38,000 and some change for the installation. The current estimate is, and by the way, you're stealing my thunder. This is what I was going to talk about. But the engineer's estimate was that the work was going to cost between $45,000 and $55,000, with $38,000 reimbursed by the grant, and the rest coming from our COVID funds.
Okay, so we do have that.
Yes.
Okay, and the other question, grant, is the property behind Flannery's. Did we ever do anything with that grant, or, and second part of that is, what is the plan for that property?
There was a possibility of the grant for a
Parking lot.
Permeable.
parking
Yeah,
lot.
right.
Unfortunately, the cost to the village was going to be $100,000, over $100,000.
The cost benefit analysis for it was just kind of out of whack because it really needed to be, I don't want to use the term over-engineered, but it was very, very engineered, and it would have cost the village, their share would have exceeded the 52% that we originally had thought it was going to cost us. And then on top of that, the village would have been required every year to have our village engineer do a report on how much water was captured, and to do that report would have been like several $1,000s every year. So for a tiny parking lot that would have only gotten us 9 parking spaces, it didn't seem, it was.
Can we put a regular parking lot there or no?
Yes, we can, and
Okay.
we are in the process of working on that right now.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Other question, probably for you, Kathy. Is the Cook County Land Bank working on the property at 147th and Spalding?
Which one is that?
There, Don shaking his head.
Which one's at 100?
That's the one where there's a car dealer and then the 3 empty, and he's not paying rent to anybody.
No, that has been, our attorney can speak to that. I was not at moves court for that. That gentleman was in moves court.
That business is going to have to cease its operations.
I believe he was given 90 days, right? He
Yes,
was given 90
yes.
days to wrap things up and move out. And then once that happens, once it's vacant, then we can talk to the land bank about it.
Okay, right, because that looks terrible over there. Even his portion looks
Mhm.
horrible. And then my other question was, Don, did we find out, I know you had said to me that the grants for grass cutting would only be for the vacant properties. Are there any?
Vacant properties that we want to rehab or demolish.
Okay,
In the old days, it wasn't like that. Any vacant property, we could get reimbursed for,
right.
as long as we cut the grass. But that grant isn't around anymore. It's only if we want to do something with the property.
Okay. All right, that's all I had. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Okay.
Just have one thing. The beautification committee will be meeting tomorrow at 7:15 here in the chambers. That's it.
No one else? All right, then I'll close the floor to public comment, move on to trustee business, trustee Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 items tonight. The first is to ask that the board re-review Section 3 of the draft employee handbook we've been working on for the last several months. I wanted to point out that we've looked at it prior, but I wanted everyone to re-look at it. And specifically, there are 2 policies that I've noted that we need to have brought up to the Finance Committee. One is Policy 3.10, which is the compensation time and its accrual. We need a policy on that. And that seems more appropriate to be discussed in the Finance Committee, so I'd like to take that out of this section for now. And also 3.11, which is the reporting of the time taken by the employees for their comp time. Again, I'd like to have that discussed at the Finance Committee because it seems appropriate. Does anybody have any questions on the policies that we've presented once, presented twice now, so that I'd like to try to get them moved forward for it? Yes.
Okay.
Was Kasperick able to get us a comp time policy, or was that just?
We have one that we talked about at the Finance Committee meeting yesterday. I think we have a good policy in place for the comp time and paying it out in accrual. The problem is coming up with a good process for reporting, since it's independent at this point, but we're looking into trying to move forward with a attendance and timekeeping software now. So I think that will help, at least short term, until we decide long term how we're going to do our payroll.
And I had drafted language for both those prior to our discussion last night, so I'm happy to, whatever we finally decide as the 2, but it's important that in the next couple months that we finalize that for that.
Okay,
Done.
so I don't know if I was around for the discussion or not, so I apologize if we're rehashing our old hash. But under 3.1 sick leave, there's something under vacation pay, how it's going to be paid out when the employee leaves. There's nothing under sick leave if it's going to be paid out, if there is anything to pay out. Did the board make a conscious decision to not pay out sick leave to the non-union employees?
Don, my understanding is with sick leave that if you leave, you receive nothing. You get paid out for your vacation, but not for your sick leave as a non-union employee. That is my
Okay, because
understanding.
the other side does get.
That is my understanding.
Okay, so is that something the board wants to do? I would,
Is that our current policy?
there's nothing here.
Well, what we currently do.
What is?
I don't know what we currently do. I'm just saying that I think if it's full-time, it's full-time, and that they should be paid out on
But sick leave was never considered as PTO, paid
Right.
time off.
Right.
Only vacation, comp time,
And personal.
and personal days,
Do
so.
the 3 CBAs allow for payout of sick leave when an employee leaves?
So lease allows, I think, for $4 or $4 and some odd cents.
Per hour?
What is it?
50% of the time.
50% of the time they get paid out at a
Right.
A small
stipend.
stipend,
Right.
okay. And
And
what
I
about
think,
fire?
I think fire's the same. I
And
don't
what
know,
about
I don't know
public
about
works?
public works.
I'm not sure.
So down within my own organization, every organization I've worked that's non-governmental or school-related, you leave, you get your vacation time, and that's it. You don't
Right.
get
You're an
PTO
employee-
time.
you're an
You
employee
don't
at
get,
will.
Yeah,
yeah, you
it's
don't
sort
get
of like-
anything. So this doesn't seem foreign to me, but maybe in a governmental system,
Yeah.
this is more the norm that I'm used to.
And this, I'd sort of like to keep it a level playing field if we could.
Yeah, at my job, we don't get paid out for sick time, just paid time off. Accrued time.
Well, I'm just asking, did the, if that's something the board wants to do.
So I guess it looks like, Nick, do you know what the federal guidelines are for sick time being paid out?
That's,
If you're an employee at will, I don't think.
yeah,
you have-
that's
an employer doesn't have
there's
to
no
pay.
requirement that sick time be paid out. The reason that the unions all have sick time payouts is because the comparables with other bargaining agreements compel that to go forward. But to Trustee Johnson's statement, typically, there would not be a payout of sick time unless there was a policy developed to try and encourage employees not to use the sick time. That's the typical position.
Right, that was the other reason too.
Although I think with IMRF, they can buy it forward
Right.
for so it's pensionable, they just have to pay the taxes. So I do think they can use that towards their pension.
There's a limit, though.
Yeah, and we have a limit on how much they can accrue, so.
Okay, so that, I'm just asking, the board wants to leave it the way it is? I would be in favor of making it level, but that's just me. You know that by now. And page 3, number,
Can I ask a
Yes, I'm
question?
sorry.
Kathy, are both of these documents on here the same?
Yes,
Under
I
number 1? Okay.
Yes, when I put it on board docs, I thought I put it once and it got
It's okay, I just wanted to make sure.
It's the same thing. I just couldn't remember how I named them, so there's two different names, but it's the same document.
Okay. Okay, page 3, John, sorry.
page 3, number 8.
I'm pretty sure. That's about the car purchases.
Is there a reason we're letting employees
You sent an
carry over
email about it.
5 days? I know sometimes we do it for the department heads, I understand that. But it doesn't seem like it's, I don't know, a lot of rigmarole. There's no standards here about why they can carry them over. It's just sort of gobbledygook. I wouldn't be in favor of that.
Gobbledygook,
If-
which one are we talking about?
It's always been for the department heads because of what
Yes.
we've required of them.
Right, but.
But with board approval, it's never been for
No,
non-department heads. so-
why are we doing that?
Where, I don't know where that, number 8, where the 5 days came from.
So when I was looking at the document that we were provided through IML and a couple of other documents, including my own organization, you're allowed to carry over 5 days per year without penalty. If it was 6 days, you would lose 1 day. Again, it's the standard I have been used to. Like during COVID, I could carry over 10 days for 2021, but beginning in January 2023, I only can carry over 10. So because of 2020, I lost 8 days because I didn't take vacation. So whatever the board would like,
I would be
it just
in
seems
favor-
normal to me, but
Yeah, I would be in favor to give our employees a little bit of, I don't think that very many employees have asked to carry time over, but, in the event that an employee did ask to carry over vacation time, I would not be opposed to that. I think a lot of companies are trying to provide employees with a little bit of flexibility and better,
work-life balance.
work-life balance. So, if they're planning a big trip, they're gonna take a big trip one year and they want to have 3 weeks off, or they need to have 2 weeks off for a big trip and then save a week for a day here, day there to do stuff with their kids or whatever, then I don't have a problem with anybody carrying a day over, a week
It
over.
requires a formal request and an approval.
Sure,
I have a problem with pre-planning having to roll over days.
Yeah.
what do you mean pre-planning?
Just
Like
what you said.
you just said, if next year they know that they're gonna wanna take a 3-week vacation, they're gonna roll over 5 days from this year, intentionally pre-planned, I have a problem with that.
Well, we could, in my old world, we could carry over 5 days, but it had to be used in the first quarter.
So the only
We
thing,
could do something like that. I really don't have a problem with letting them, and remember, we're talking about a handful of, this is for non-union employees. We have a very small handful of non-union employees. So I would have no problem with letting anybody carry over a week vacation, and we could put the stipulation on it that it would have to be used within the first quarter.
If we let them use it, I think that benefit will migrate
Migrate to what?
to the other employees. Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, they usually have to schedule their vacation almost right away at the beginning of the year for a lot of times, and making it so that they can take off 3 weeks on a vacation. That's, on a lot of these small departments, that's tough. You're really putting a burden on the department.
well, it is up to the discretion of the department head to approve those. So, I mean, if they
Well,
can't,
we can put a limit on it. We could say you can only take it. But what if an employee already has been here long enough, they already have 3 weeks vacation? Can we, do we have
Yeah,
management
okay.
rights to tell an
It's
employee
there.
that they cannot take a 3-week vacation?
It's
No,
there.
they can't.
They can.
What you were saying was they would intentionally roll over 5 days to give them 3 weeks. I feel like the audit companies, I'm reading through the audit right here, I think the audit companies have a problem with this because of the unknown. It's just like comp time. They don't know what our unknown liability is. If you're rolling 5 days over from this fiscal year to next fiscal year, they don't know.
But they can only roll over 5 days. They can't roll it over again and then have 10 days. They have to use it. So that's why we would put the stipulation on it, they would have to use it. Because, and I don't really think the audit company would have a problem with it because there are huge corporations that do it all the time. It's part of their,
Yeah, but
part of
we're
their policy.
a
So-
government, we're a municipal government.
No, I realize that, but I'm just meaning from like an accounting and audit standpoint, it doesn't violate any kind of GAAP rule, I guess is what I was trying to say. So,
so, yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed, or, I mean, it's fine either way to me. Maybe what we could do is say that if they leave the village, they can only get paid out for what they're entitled to for that year, if that's what we're concerned about. I mean, it
well, no,
doesn't.
if we let a department head carry over vacation time, and then for whatever reason they leave, they're gonna get paid out for all that vacation time. Right?
Right.
So,
Well,
I
department
don't,
head
I
also
really
has
think.
salary, they don't have overtime.
Again, we have a handful of non-union employees. If somebody needs to carry over a week, up to 5 days, and we tell them they have to use it in the first quarter,
But what Trustee Kelly's saying is that if we do that, then all the unions will ask for all their employees to be able to roll over
Yeah,
5
it'll
days.
be a benefit.
So it'll be the whole village will be asking to.
Not
but
the
they can
non-union
only
people.
they can only carry over 5 days, and they have to use it in the first quarter.
Operationally, the scheduling is not easy to begin with. It just isn't. I mean, if you talk to, I'm not talking about non-union, but I
Well,
would suspect,
you know-
and when you only have a 3-person office, and somebody comes in and says, well, I want to use another 5 days to roll it over, well,
There's a
where?
lot of benefits that our CBA employees have that our non-union employees don't have.
So Donna,
I
I
think that.
think you just need to change your frame. It's not that they're gonna take 3 weeks at one time, but if I take a week in January, I take a week in March, I take a week in July, you're not disadvantaging the department from
Well, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about operationally, how you schedule it with only 3 people in the front office.
Right.
And you're sitting there and you're going, well, I want to roll
Well,
over 5.
again, that's why we have a manager.
Yeah, I know.
And this way, they would have to negotiate with the manager instead of saying the employee going, tough, I'm taking 3 weeks. screw
Well,
you.
yeah, and
Whereas this is a.
they
this
can
is-
if they've been here 15 years, but I mean, overall, you don't want to make that a practice, and it definitely will carry over, in my opinion, to the unions, and you know, I just talk to the fire chief once in a while, he's got super gray hair trying to schedule what he's got right now, especially during the summer. I think we're making it tough. I think that's a tough thing with, and
So whatever the
Use
pleasure,
your
of the-
vacation.
whatever the pleasure of the board is, we will modify this to make sure that it's fair and equitable.
I have a different question, Kath. I don't see that we put in here the language for people coming out of the CBA to be managers.
I know it is in there,
I don't see it though. I don't. Can you just tell me where it's at?
sure. It's
I
going
thought
to
it was
be,
towards the end of the document.
It might, that's
And
where
it
I
was
thought it was
highlighted.
too.
If you look in the,
3.12, is that what you're asking about? Page
Yeah.
8?
Oh, there it
Yeah,
is. There it is. I see it. Okay, perfect. I'm sorry, I didn't see that
oh,
when
no,
I read
no
through
problem. I mean, this is a big document.
okay, so, all right, so I'll leave that, you know, for our own opinions, I guess. But the other question I have is, there's some areas in here where we are, for the first time ever, giving part-time employees benefits. And,
where does it say that?
well, you're giving them 2 days.
I don't think that's the first time ever. We've always done that
Oh,
since I've been here.
no.
So Donlin, you may not have been here during the meeting, but I had a meeting with trustee Crowley and trustee
Yes,
Brooks.
yes.
And so we went through the first time the
Yes.
document, and it was agreed upon among the three of us that as a benefit, a part-time person would not get sick time, but they would be able to accumulate
And they
a couple
did that
days of
previously.
vacation, and I didn't think that was unreasonable. And
Kathy?
it- Yeah.
Who was your part-time inspector that would get earned certain vacation time? He didn't accrue it the same, and so did Janet, I believe.
Yes, Janet did too. If,
And I
But
think
Don-
that's
Now,
required.
with the approval of the board.
Don,
Well, I mean,
time out,
maybe they
time
didn't get it
out.
with the approval of the
It's-
board, but that
it's
was,
federal law that if an employee works over 29 hours in a
Right.
week,
That's right,
right.
they have to accrue vacation time.
that's right.
And that is the circumstances under which those
Yes.
two part-time employees accrued vacation time,
That's right. So-
because they work more than 29
A full-time
hours.
employee federally is 30 hours, or over 29.
Well, no, they're still considered part-time employees. Any employee that works 29, over 29 hours is
Mhm.
entitled to accrue vacation time. I don't know about sick time, but they were entitled to accrue vacation time. We still consider them a part-time employee.
Is that true?
Where are we at?
Is that true?
3.3? We're talking about 3.3?
Number
Well, there's a
7.
number of ones in here, they get,
3.2.
20-hour
Oh, I
person.
got you.
Can get two, we'll get two holidays, half personal days, half vacation days. That's all that's on there.
Federal law contemplates not allowing employers to hire part-time employees and then have them work full-time. And
Right.
the 30 hours is the
Right.
definition, so that's why.
So just like Obamacare, 30 hours is full-time.
Yes, yes. That's, you can't reduce your benefits to your work staff by calling them part-time when you are working them full-time.
Right. Okay. All right. Then I understand what's going on.
Okay, so under 3.3.2, a permanent part-time employee who works at least 20 hours or more a week is entitled to one personal day.
That is right. And two holidays, I think. Also two holidays. And I guess that would be fine. And the only other thing I have is, I lost it already. Lost my brain. Oh,
Okay, it says here we have 10 holidays. I thought we had 11.
I based it what it was on the
We
website.
have 10.
Oh, we don't only
Public
have 10?
Works.
Public Works got 11.
Got 11, but they don't have any personal days.
Okay.
And for the board's benefit, I did find the sick time payout for the Public Works Union. And it says the bargaining unit employee will be paid for 1/2 of his accumulated 6 hours at a rate of $4.38 per hour upon separation. An employee shall only be eligible for accumulated sick leave buyback upon separation from the employee if the employee has completed a minimum of 20 years of service, 50 years of age, the employee was not terminated at a disciplinary consequences, and there's a limit as to how much it can buy back. So that's Public Works.
Okay. My last question is page 7, number 3, trying to imitate trustee Kathy here and be precise. So,
Page 7 where?
number 3,
Under 3.7?
3.7, right? Lunchtime and break time? I don't see anywhere here where it says, for example, it says full-time employees are able to extend their lunch break from 30 to 45 minutes with somebody's approval? It doesn't say anything about
It
anybody.
doesn't say any approval.
No, but you should need approval. If you're slammed that day, if you're slammed that day and somebody says, well, I'm just gonna take 45 minutes, no, where does it say that?
Well, but they still have to take 15 minutes of, a 15
Yeah.
15-minute breaks, that's still 45
So
minutes.
Don, if you look at number 5, it says if there's a need for coverage, the employee may be asked to only take a 30-minute lunch break and take their break at a different time during the day.
Right, but I think that should be sort of together. I agree with you. I agree
You
with
could
you.
combine 3
But I
and
mean,
5
it sort of
just
should
to
be,
3.
pre-approved rather than after approved. Sort of should go, here, I'm going to take 45 minutes from now on. And the boss says, fine, great. Or, I just operationally, it's just,
If you look at.
I ran a small business, didn't have a lot of employees, and if people come back to me and say, well, I'm not going to be here for another whatever, I lose my mind because I need them.
I
I
would,
don't understand how this works.
like trustee Burbett said, to move that sentence up. to-
This is all based on existing practice, but if you combine 5 to be the ending part of 3, that
It'd be
would
fine.
do
Yeah,
what you're.
I agree with you. I agree with you. As long as the employee knows that somebody might tap them on the shoulder and says, hey, we're short somebody today, can you stay?
Your document should-
And do not today.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I will combine 3 and 5. And Don, again, we're just trying to be fair and equitable across all the departments of the non-staff
Yes,
right now.
yes.
Right now, we don't
Right.
have that,
Which is
so
good.
I want to make sure that every department has the same benefit for their
Right.
lunch and for their
Right.
break
Okay,
time.
that's all I have.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
No.
At the end of point 5, on the top of page 6, numbers 4 and 5. 4 says part-time employees who work a minimum of 2 days per week, then in parentheses it says 20 hours. Number 5 says part-time employees who work a minimum of 3 days per week, 30 hours. That would assume that each employee is working 10 hours a day. Do we want to delete the 2 days per week and the 3 days per week and just put 20 hours or 30 hours for both of those? Would that be easier?
Sure. What page, I don't have this printed out, so.
That's okay, I'm on page 6.
Page 6.
6. okay.
Page 6, numbers 4 and numbers 5.
Page 6.
Should we just reference 20 hours and 30 hours and remove the days?
It's a little less limiting.
Why isn't the meeting opening?
It's a little less limiting.
Okay, wait. So Kathy, you want to, on page 6, you want to combine which numbers?
No, not combine them, but in number 4, we're referencing someone who works 2 days a week, but it says 20 hours. So I don't want there to be the assumption that someone's assuming that they have to work 2 10-hour days.
Okay, got it.
Or
Just say-
3
just say
or
20
3
hours.
10-hour days.
Just say
Yeah,
20
just
hours,
say
yeah.
20 hours or
Eliminate
30
the
hours.
days.
Okay.
Pardon?
Yeah,
Eliminate
got
the
it.
days. and
Yeah,
then-
just eliminate the days
Sure.
and reference the hours.
It should. I don't know what I'm talking about.
And in 5 also.
And then in number 5 too, okay.
Go back to the email for a second.
Okay. And anything else?
And Kathy, number
Very
1 is
bizarre.
going to be out, right? Did you say that? Were you telling me the number 1 is going to be put
Number
in
1 on which page?
on page 6? That's going to
It could be in
be,
your
Why?
workflow, but it was in the wrong section of the meeting.
incorporated in the overtime and policy? Or, I don't even know, because it says, well, my only question is, it has 1.5 hours for every hour work. And what we talked about yesterday was maybe if they are working, but they didn't come up to 40 hours, I don't know. Is that part of the overtime policy, or is that, it seems like it conflicts, I don't know.
No, this is talking about if an employee is asked to work on a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
They get paid time and a half
They
for
get
the
paid
holiday.
time and a half.
Okay.
Should
Okay.
say- It's a different
So
meeting,
any
but I'm
other-
sure that should be what it should say there.
Any other questions for
But on
this
this card,
particular one? I know we're
question
taking up a lot of
items.
time tonight.
Did you send me that email?
So,
Oh,
I know,
we had
but
talked
saying
about
that's
giving them a
bonus.
minute, if someone got
It
called out on a
doesn't-
holiday or got called out on off time, that we would give them a minimum of 3 hours. If they were called out on a weekend, if they would be called out on a holiday, should they be given a minimum of 3 hours also?
So, I mean, I think if we want people to report to the village when they're at home
Right.
and come back
3
to work, I
hours.
think we have to guarantee them,
Right.
make it worth their while,
Right, we-
otherwise why would they answer our phone
No,
call?
I agree. We talked about that in one of the policies we discussed yesterday at finance, but I'm just wondering, in this one, in number 1, we're talking about if they have to, if they're called out to come on a holiday, work on a holiday, we should have that same minimum of 3 hours in there.
Right, but I
Administration's not working
think
any
our
of these days.
policy for comp time overtime covers
Building
that,
department doesn't.
Well, that's what,
because they would get paid either comp time or overtime.
Right, but that's just in the
Well,
calculation, it doesn't say that here.
But
That's just in the calculation of the number of hours. It doesn't, that policy you're talking about does not reference if they get called out on a holiday. I guess that holiday would be included in that.
Yeah, I mean, I
All right,
don't,
never
I'm just
mind. Yeah.
thinking that if you get called out, regardless of what day it is,
Mhm.
you get
Mhm.
time and a half, you
But
get at least
minimum-
3 hours,
minimum 3 hours,
minimum 3 hours.
yeah. So.
I'm just wondering if we should take that policy, because it was a small independent policy, take all that language and roll it into here and eliminate that policy.
Well, the reason that I think it's important to have it independent is
Mhm.
because it's also part of the management letter that we're trying to clean up as well.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know that we need all this other language in there
Okay.
for the management letter, but we could make it like a connection, this could be policy 3 and that could be 3(1)B or something,
Okay.
okay,
okay, so I can make these changes and bring it back next week or at the next committee meeting, whatever the board's pleasure.
I think you just make the changes and give it to us highlighted or redlined or something, and we can put it on the agenda for approval next week.
Okay.
put it under your business for approval, so we don't have to go through that.
Okay. All right, hopefully this one, the second one will be,
Because Tony Burbat has this, he has a copy. Tony.
I came in your email today.
okay, and then
sent
so
an email.
number 2, again, we reviewed this section on January 19th this year. There were some questions regarding draft policies 2.14 and 2.15, which dealt with the tech resource policy and the section on the portable data storage device. So Trustee Crawley said she wanted to look at it, so I wanted to just draw the attention that we haven't resolved these, but I'm hoping that the other policies you can re-review, and we can, again, as Trustee Keaveney suggested, if they're good, I could bring it back up next week under my business to approve, so we can get that section codified.
Anyone?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay, and then the third thing, which is the fun thing, sorry, this has probably been super boring, kind of technical and geeky. All right, so on Saturday, September 17th, we will be having our first Oktoberfest. It's the event committee's first event. We're very excited. It's going to be in the Metro Lot, which is south of the gazebo. We have reached out to businesses. Right now, we have approximately 4 businesses that are going to be providing adult beverages and other kinds of beverages along with food. We're encouraging them to have German-style food and/or refreshments. We'll have a DJ. We're going to have bean bags. We'll have tables, chairs. We have vendors that will have wares to sell or other type of things. So we're encouraging everyone to come. If people would like to volunteer for the event, we're more than happy to have you for that. And it'll be just a nice Saturday afternoon. It's from 12 to 8. Have people come out and just enjoy Oktoberfest in September. So I'm pretty excited, and I'm happy with our committee and what we've been able to accomplish so far. We'll be doing more things on Facebook, the electronic village board sign. We'll try to get other advertisements out. So I hope you all can come and participate.
I'm very much looking forward to it. And free to get in?
Free to get in. You will pay the vendors directly for your drinks and/or food. The bags will be free. The DJ is, free music, so you don't have to pay to listen to him. Yeah,
Nice.
should be good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it for tonight?
That is more than enough for tonight.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Burback.
One item for tonight, we have a firefighter that's requested to take a course for advanced technician firefighter at Romeo Fire Academy. The cost is $550. It's in the budget. I'm just asking to have this put on the consent agenda for next week.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. That's it?
That's it.
Trustee Hilly?
Well, as previously discussed, all the details were discussed prior to my time here in relation to the fire hydrant replacement. What I did forget to tell you is we have been sitting on, Sandy, we have been sitting on the 10 hydrants that we did buy back in 2015. And then the state froze their grant money, and so that's what the delay is. Did anybody have any questions about the fire hydrant replacement program?
No. Bottom line is we don't want to have to get back to $23,000 we spent on the fire hydrants already, so let's
Correct.
plow forward.
All right, I will let Engineer Huss and Superintendent Sperry know that it's set to go to bid. That's it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Gavney.
Thank you, Mayor. On my business tonight, I provided the board with information with regards to engaging GovHR, which is a recruiting company that specializes in recruiting employees for municipalities. Right now, the village has 2 open positions, building department superintendent and also assistant treasurer position. Both of those positions are advertised elsewhere, most recently in the IML, but I reached out to GovHR. The village had used them before in 2018. The cost for professional outreach for each of these positions is $4,000. So I wanted to just bring that to the board. We have not received any applications for either of those positions. They're both on the village website. They've been put out on Facebook. The superintendent position is on ICC, on IML, and then I had sent it to the three building department related trade associations who have shared it with all of their members. And have not gotten any responses as of yet.
Worrisome. Very worrisome.
Yes, so.
Was GovQR, or GovHR, were they recommended by someone, weren't they?
I think Robinson had told me about them. I was not aware of them, and
Okay.
Robinson had told me about them. And when we used them in 2018, I want to say we probably got 4 or 5 applications.
What position was that for? When we-
Superintendent, building
Building.
superintendent.
Okay.
So, okay, just one last thing. Would you consider putting it on Indeed or any of the other job boards? I know there's a cost to that, but.
Yes, we did. I believe at the time we did pay to put it on Indeed as well. And I don't recall that we got any. We might have gotten 1 or 2 hits from Indeed, but we got most of our hits from GovHR. From that. I didn't even think about Indeed.
That was the other name I heard, I remember hearing.
Can we post that without, or do we have to pay for that?
I'm thinking you probably have to pay for
There's
it.
gotta be a cost to it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it's $4,000, but it might be less.
And that's what the auditor recommended for the assistant treasurer position. That was
That's
their
right.
To
number
use
one-
Indeed?
That's what I heard.
That was the number one recommendation they had for financial.
Okay, well, you know what, we can table this one for now, we can go ahead and put it out
I-
on Indeed first.
I'm recommending we go on every site we can go on.
Use a buckshot approach.
Okay.
Buckshot.
That's what I call it.
Okay, I know I had brought up this company at a committee meeting before. Am I able to bring this up for action this evening, or do I have to wait and put it on next week's?
You have it
agenda?
on for action, so.
I
you
know,
can-
but I wasn't sure because I don't remember bringing up the cost before, and it's not budgeted. So I just wanted to.
You can make a motion.
Go ahead,
Mhm.
okay. I'd like to make a motion that the board, that the village engage GovHR to post both of these open positions, the building superintendent position and the assistant treasurer position, to their company, on their company sites, at a cost not to exceed $8,000, plus whatever advertising expenses. Advertising expenses were minimal, it was like, and some of the sites for advertising we've already hit, so.
I'll second you.
Discussion?
Nope.
Roll call, please, Clerk Moscow.
Trustee Kaveny,
Aye.
trustee Crawley,
Aye.
trustee Burback,
Aye.
trustee Hilly,
Aye.
trustee Johnson,
Aye.
trustee Killily.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Is that it this evening?
Yeah.
Cousins?
But she reserves the right.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Trustee Killily.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, I sent to the board, just forwarded the newsletter from Metropolitan Planning Council, which is just a wonderful resource for us. They're forward thinkers and come up with a lot of good ideas. And I've gone to a couple of their seminars, and they're off the charts, too. But I thought there was couple items that were really pertinent, and another trustee thought that one item was very pertinent also, and that's trustee Kathy here. So trustee, do you want to ask the question, or do you want me to? Okay, well, here's the thing. The lead service lines, and I talked to the mayor about it too. The lead service lines basically are an approval schedule of annual, and if you have your project ready to go by June, then Illinois will put that into the queue for approval. And as it's been right now, the cost of what we're going to be doing should be, it comes out as a loan, but it should be forgiven. Should be totally forgiven. But there's a deadline for everybody in Illinois to apply for that. And the money from the federal government isn't going up. So I was not thrilled that we couldn't get this in for last June because there wasn't that many people applying, and we definitely would have gotten our loan forgiven. Now, where we are now is a whole bunch of people that are going to be, it's going to be on their radar. They are going to start applying. The money, according to MPC, doesn't look like it's going to cover the whole thing, or maybe anywhere near it. And so where the boat we would be in by that would be, we would have to designate a source of income, somewhat like our infrastructure fee or whatever it would be, that would be designated for just paying off that loan. I'm not happy with the situation we're in, but for sure, we can't put this on the back burner. We have to make sure that that project is ready for submittal to the IEPA, probably in May, so that they can approve it. I kept on reading about these towns, Waukegan, big project that got it totally forgiven. for lead service lines, so on and so forth. So I understand, and don't get me wrong, pandemic has screwed up everything. It has, and I'm sure that with all the federal money and the grant money coming in, every town comes into an engineering firm and says, here, boom, we want all this done. And they still have the same amount of people or less. But, you know, everything has been switched around, jumbled up, whatever. But we have to prioritize this and see and take our best shot now, that we make sure we get it on the board for the, by their timeline. Does that cover that?
We're gonna have no choice at some point in the near future to
Right.
replace these, so we
Right.
need to, I actually have emailed Robinson and Superintendent Sperry to make sure that we're still, they started working on this at least a year ago.
June, I just looked it up, June, we approved Robinson to start the engineering,
Right.
June of '21.
Right, June of 21. Right.
Yeah.
So if we approve them in June of '21 to start working on this, what have they gotten accomplished in the last 14 months?
That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I guess the good news is I believe it was only 300 that we were aware of. 400.
But it
In the
wasn't
whole
as much
thing.
as it was, we thought.
In the whole town, but still, that's very expensive.
Right.
Even just those 400, so, I mean, that's good news, but the bad news, everything costs so much money.
Right.
All right, I will let everyone know about what I hear back on the progress.
And Don, is there a website that we know for sure when we absolutely have to submit it by so that we do not miss this deadline?
Look up the IEPA.
I'm sorry.
IEPA has all that information on there. If you sign up to get the newsletter for Metropolitan Planning Council, it's very good. I thought they took the graphic information and CMAP sort of reworked it and recycled it and put it in comparison terms, and that's in there too. And when I looked at that, I thought, oh, that actually makes more sense. What changes are happening in our town, demographically, age-wise, whatever it's going to be. Things like that is what I think the board should be aware of when those goals and strategies for the future.
So Don, I would recommend that we know what the date is, we plan that we think we're ready 30 days beforehand and start reviewing it before so that if something blows up, we have some wiggle room. So I'm happy to look at the site, but I think from the engineering point of view and the application and the documentation, we really need this ready 60 days before it's absolutely the deadline.
right.
So this way, if something blows up,
Right.
we have time to correct it without being in a panic.
Right. Okay, fine. Great.
And I'll be happy to help be get the ducks lined up and be the mother hen pushing it along.
Yeah. We want to get rid of these things, and I believe the deadline is 2025. I think it is.
It's coming quick.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dan.
Trustee Crowley.
Just a couple things this evening, sir. First off, we did put on the agenda this evening for discussion a change that we're asking for the board for vehicle purchases for the police department. Unfortunately, both Chief Delaney and I put it in the wrong spot, and I approved it, and it didn't make the right spot, so it didn't show up on the board. But I did email everybody the information this afternoon, so I apologize for that. Basically, what we're asking for is every year the police department budgets for 2 cars, 2 replacement cars to keep our fleet up to date. The problem that we're having right now is with the shortage of vehicles and the difficulty in getting these vehicles in a timely manner. We're seeing that our vehicles, when we do place these orders, are taking 6, 8, 12 months to get, which puts us into a totally different cycle. The second part of the problem is we're hearing from the state purchasing vendors that Ford is considering taking their cars out of the state purchasing price. Now, that's not for sure, but that's what we're hearing. So what we are asking is, and the information I provided you guys can take a look at it. If you want me to continue it for another week, I can. We are asking to make the purchase of 4 vehicles this year and forego our 2 budgeted for next year so that we can, one, ensure that we get the Fords at the state purchase price before the prices start going up for these vehicles as well. These cars would replace our detective cars, which are 5 or 6 years old as it is. They were purchased in 2016, I believe. And they were an inexpensive way to purchase. I think, what are they, Dan, Focuses? Or they're Focuses. And they're just not conducive, and they're running to the end of the life. So what we would do is we would replace 3 of those. We've already talked to Bill Kay. Bill Kay has preliminary. Bill Kay has said that Bill Kay has said that for these 4 vehicles, they would give us a trade-in price of about $28,000, which would then allow us to replace our DEA car as well. So what I would be asking for is to include in this year's budget, do a budget amendment and include us to purchase 4 cars, and we will not ask for our 2 that we would budget for next year. The second benefit of this is a little birdie told me that Curry Motors currently has 4 on their lot that have a temporarily sold sticker on it, that we might be able to take delivery sooner rather than later.
Doesn't Curry Motors have the state? Are
They do.
those with the state?
They are, but with the shortage of cars and chips and everything,
Yeah.
there's a concern that state purchasing for the Fords
They're the
will.
ones that told us that Ford likely won't be doing the state bid next year, and that we'll be paying full consumer price for them. So he has 4 cars on his lot that he's temporarily holding for us
Okay.
to make a
So
decision.
that's why I'm asking to have, to be able to buy all 4 cars at this point, and we will not, for fiscal year 2024, we will not ask for.
And these are going to be Ford Focus squad cars?
They will not be Ford Focus squad cars, ma'am. Oh, trustee.
I couldn't help
I
myself.
thought we were gonna sell them to the.
Trustee.
Oh, no, we already have a clown car, thank you very much. It's on this last wheel.
I know.
So, I did email everybody all the information. If you have any questions, feel free. Otherwise, I'd ask for it to be put on the consent agenda for next week. And I will make Treasurer Britton aware, so that we can move forward with this.
How do we ensure that you don't sneak in 2 more cars in the next fiscal year's budget?
You'll have to trust me.
That hurts.
That'll be part of the motion.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys,
And you expect me to remember a year from now?
I'm not giving the love today,
Sounds like a pretty wise decision.
so.
Do we have a dollar amount?
It's about, we budget about $95,000 a year. The total for all 4 vehicles would be $186,000. So we would be keeping it at just about the same price, and not having any inflation or going to the retail cost. So it's about $95,000 approximately.
So if that's the case, the building department has budgeted for an additional pickup truck. Should we move forward? I was gonna wait, should we move forward and buy that truck now rather than later?
If you're doing the state purchasing price, if you're doing a Ford, I mean, we're hearing that
It
Ford.
doesn't have to be a Ford.
Yeah, yours
for you
doesn't have
guys.
to be.
But it doesn't have to be a big truck like we
Right.
have now, we can get the next smaller one, so.
Which is on back order, the Ford Maverick is on back.
What's
is
the
on back.
Maverick?
That's the
Smaller.
the smaller one, that's on back order for months now. So-
Maverick.
We have specific
I never
model.
heard of a Ford
They
Maverick.
brought the new name for a truck.
Oh,
Yeah, the state purchase price is specific to the model.
Yeah, it's specific models that they offer on it. So Dodge has state purchasing for like the Durangos
Right.
and whatnot.
Oh, I'd like
So
a
there-
Dodge Durango.
No,
There's
ask
other
Mike-
options.
Ask Mike the mechanic, he doesn't want us to have Dodge.
I would look good in a Dodge Durango, John.
Oh, Lord, let's go back to the agenda items.
yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions? And please take a look at the email I sent, and I'll make sure it's in the right spot so it's visible next week. Second thing on my, that I'd like to discuss is, and I'm not quite sure how I need to, if I just need to make the board aware of it, or if the attorney feels I need to put it on the consent agenda. We've had our first instance where something has come up in the new police department budget that was not addressed at all in the original budget, so it's not an adjustment, it's an addition. And what that is IDOT has informed Healy Bender that they will require now a traffic study for cutting in our curb on
Pulaski?
Pulaski.
But IDOT doesn't run Pulaski, the county does, so why does IDOT have to be involved?
Because they won't give us a permit without a traffic study. We had Healy Bender go out and bid, and we have, obviously it's time sensitive, we have a quote from IMEG for $3,000. So, normally this would be a change order and the mayor would sign it, but it's not really a change because it's an addition, so I wanted to make the board aware of it. And attorney, I wanted to know if you thought, is this something I need to put on the agenda to get approved? Or is this something by me making the board aware with our contingents that we'll have to take this out of our contingency, that's good enough?
How much are we talking?
$3,000.
Oh, it just comes out of
If this is
contingency.
something that we have to formally approve, if, I'm sure we're all gonna be in favor of it, just go ahead and tell them to do it and put it on the agenda next week and we'll approve it.
It
If
should
you
just come
need
out of the
to get formal.
contingency.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, but this
It's
is
part of the contingency, right?
This is,
Yeah.
it will come out of the contingency, but this
Yeah.
is, when we were going through budget, we know it's a change if it's something on, but it wasn't on the
Original
GMP
bid list,
or
right.
on the original bid, so
Yeah.
I just wanted to make everybody aware. I mean, there's been tons of changes that we've had to do,
Right.
but this is just something completely new that we didn't expect.
In the
It's
grand
$3,000.
scope of the cost, it's minimal, the $3,000 cost, and if we have to have it, we have to have it. It's not like we can negotiate with
I think
IDOT
it's
for it.
completely up to the board's prerogative and what the board cumulatively decides it wants to do. You have the ability to just go ahead and pass it, or
And then withholding their permit.
if four trustees want to require that, they can, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Either way.
IDOT's holding, like you said, they're withholding our
Yeah.
permit until we do this.
Move forward and get it done.
Don, you okay with that? Okay. Then I will do that if we could just make it part of the record that I discussed it, just so that if anybody ever asked, this was something that was not on the budget, they understand why. And that's all I have this evening, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Attorney Valdez?
just that we had a meeting with the firefighters union that was very, very productive. I believe that we are very close. And as soon as we get some language that confirms that closeness, we will bring it to you for your review. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Under my business, I have the SSMMA, Southborough Mayors and Managers Association's invoice for the annual invoice for the GIS Consortium membership dues. We did look into it, the one we approved in February for $11,000 some was for the dues to be part of SSMMA. This is different. This is for the
Mapping.
This is for the map.
Geographical Information System.
Yep. Which the
Consortium.
building department relies on heavily when looking up flood
Right.
plain information.
And Public Works does as well, so
Yes.
probably worth every penny.
Yes.
I knew we had paid something earlier in the year. Well, $20,000 a year is a lot. I mean, at least they split it up. We don't have to pay it all at once, but.
Dan, is that what we use, is that what Calcom uses too, is the South Suburban Mayors and Managers one?
We
Or do we
originally got
use-
that GIS mapping for them to put the down low with building. So, yeah, they actually provided us with the maps to share.
Okay. So I would like that on the consent agenda for approval next week, Maria. Also, Maria, today, that she noticed that we did not formally approve the engagement letter for Lauterbach and Amon for our 21 audit. So I'd like that on the agenda next week. We still want Lauterbach and Amon to do our 21, right?
We,
She went through the minutes and found out that we did not
We didn't
actually,
approve it for auditor?
the 21 audit.
I think there was some discussion, and then there were some questions, and then it never came
well, we
back
did the
up.
1 year approval. We did a 1 year
The
approval.
one-year engagement letter.
Right.
Says we didn't.
I'll look, but yes, if it wasn't, then I will, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay, if you look into it,
I'm pretty
if
sure.
you can't find it, then
Yeah.
let's have it on the consent agenda for approval next week.
I will.
Thank you. Clerk, that's all I have tonight. Clerk Moskowitz?
I have nothing tonight, sir.
Wow, not bad. Then seeing there's no further business coming before the board, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.